Hello everybody, this is Joni, and I'm getting ready to do my first coloring online for you. This one right here, it is so hard to see with it's silver, and I don't know why in the world. I wish these people would look under lights and look at their pencils with this silver writing on it and silver numbers. It is so hard that with a perfect vision, which my vision is good, if they were to put that in black on that pencil, it would be so easy. But anyway, I won't complain anymore. You all know me. I tell it the way it is. So I'm going to start coloring on this picture that I've got. And I decided to go ahead and do the one with the little turquoise teapot because I would imagine that most of you probably like this one better. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you all the number, and the number of it is 1081, and the name of it is Chestnut. So this is the color that I'm going to be using to color my, now I can't move this a lot or I'll be out of frame. I'm going to color my door and my doorstep chestnut. Let's try the chestnut out and see what it does. Yeah, it's darker than the other was. Oh, the pens, that's what I was talking about. I used one that was here in one of my containers sitting on my table. And I started using that on one of the flowers in one of my books. And my, oh my, that thing was wonderful. It was the Arteza. It was wonderful, and it just slid across my paper. And I thought, my gracious, if I had not told them already that I would use my pencils, I would use my pens to do my coloring tonight. And instead of the pencils. And I wish that I could have used them, and I probably will tomorrow night use my pens. And because they are much, much easier to work with when you're not used to doing all this. But I would say that they're easier regardless of how much you've used it, because they're so smooth and they just glide across, and there's no having to sharpen your pencils and all that stuff. And they really weren't that much because Tanya, some way or other, I don't really know how it happened, but anyway, Arteza sent her some to try out and to see how she liked them. And for her trying them out, they gave her a 10% coupon, and I had not bought any. So when she had that 10% coupon, I bought mine, and they sent her, I think it was 60 some or 70 some, I'm not sure. And so I just told her, I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and order a set of mine because I got 120, I believe it was. It was more than what hers would have been. But she got hers just for, reviewing them and everything. And but she also got a 10% discount for any of her people who decided to order some. And that's a good bit off with the 10%. So I got my 10% coupon off on my markers, and I was thrilled. And now, but I hadn't used them because I've been so busy with my pencils. And then I started using them, and oh my gracious, those Artesia pens are wonderful. I mean, wonderful. And so I figure that I'm going to be using those for a while. And I mean, I will continue using my pencils, of course, but because I do like them. But after I get settled down a little bit more, you know, just new into this, you know how everything is when you start doing something that's new and you're not used to it. Takes a little bit of time to adjust, especially when you're like me. I have got my picture that I colored the other day, and I'm just going to try to, the number of this one is 943, and it is ochre, burnt yogurt, burnt ogre, ochre, not ogre. But this is going to give it a darker. And I was telling you that if you have not used pencils, you really are supposed to put these on light. See, I'm going to see if I can move this around this way so I can get this on here a little smoother and faster. Yeah, see, now I've got it around the way I can see it. And I can go much faster. But you're supposed to put these on in about 4 or 5 layers, and before you burnish them. And then if you want to burnish them, you can burnish them. And what it means, if you don't know, I didn't. I know what burnish means, but I didn't know about pencils burnishing. You just take your pencils and you push down hard on them, and it seals them down on your paper very heavily. And then they won't accept any other color after you burnish them. So you don't want to burnish them when you first start. You want to always put on how many layers of crayon or pencil, not crayon, that you want to use to begin with, and then burnish the last one that you're going to use. Okay, we got the door, and let me see. Tanya liked the little girls with the big eyes and everything, but I saw these little mice, and I just fell in love with them. And she did too when she saw them. She doesn't color that much on her channel though. She is so busy making the DIYs and things. How that child, I call her a child. She's a very mature lady. But how she has come up with all of these ideas that she started doing when that is 941 light umber. Light umber is the name of it. So I'm going to put that right there because I'm going to have it on, well, I have to have it on the tree, so I might as well go ahead and do that. So she didn't do any further crafting or anything because she was too busy with her work and everything. But she did, I guess, she retained that knowledge that if she ever did want to, that she was capable of doing it. And that made me feel good because I knew then that she knew that she was capable of it. And I was hoping that it wouldn't be wasted. And so she went ahead and continued with her studies, and she got her first degree, and she was going to become an attorney. And she filled out her papers and everything, and she was going to go to, I believe it was somewhere in Alabama. She sent her papers in and everything, transcripts, all those things. And believe it or not, the college lost them. So she would have had to have sat out an entire year because they didn't get them there in time. And she said, okay, she said, I'm forgetting about that. She said, I don't have time to sit around and wait on them to find papers that they're losing. So she just started back to school, and she, but in the meantime, she had gotten a degree, and a 4-year degree. And so she graduated, and then she went back to school I think it was the following year. And she began taking paralegal training. So she got an associate degree as a paralegal. And we moved down here. And she worked for an attorney down here for, I don't know how long, until we got ready to move back home because we weren't happy. We moved back home. And so when she got in as a paralegal, by the time she graduated, by getting her 4-year degree in the classes that she would have had to go to law school, they were pretty well saturated with paralegals. And she said, I'm not going to fight all that. She said, I'm just going to go back to school. She said, I'm going to get my degree. And she first wanted to be a psychologist anyway. And didn't work out. She went to class, and she said, if I had to listen to that every day, she said, I'd be crazy. She said, they don't believe in anything that I believe in, and she said, I'm not going to expose myself to that. So she came home, and she finished the class, but she wouldn't take any more in psychology because she said, no, said they're teaching against everything that I believe in. And of course, that was religion. And she's not the type to let anyone try to dispense with that. So she began her nursing. So she started her nursing school, and she already had graduated with highest honors in the paralegal. So then she started her nursing, and she got 1B in her nursing. And that 1B kept her from getting highest honors. She got high honors, but which is very, very, very good. So that put her with 3 degrees. And then she went into the nursing field, and she said that's where I should have been all along because she loved it. She loved it. She was in surgery, and she was a circulator, and I knew nothing about nursing. She told me she was a scrub nurse, and I thought, oh my gosh, she's cleaning all those instruments. She's going to get no telling what. She's going to cut her hands. She's going to cut herself. She's going to get something. And she didn't know that I didn't know what a scrub nurse was. And one day we were talking, and I said, are you sure you want to do that and clean all those instruments all the time? And she said, Mom, she said, I'm not cleaning instruments. And she said, I said, well, you're scrubbing them? And she said, no. She said, I'm not scrubbing them. She said, a scrub nurse assists the doctor while he is performing the surgery. She says, I'm standing right beside him when he does all of the surgery, and if he needs an instrument, I hand it to him. And if there's anything, inserting catheters and things like that, she did that. And oxygen and all things that needed to be done, she did that. And the doctors were crazy about her. They said that one doctor told her, said, when you've been here a while, you will learn to anticipate what I need before I even ask for it. She wasn't there any time until she was reaching him what he needed before he even asked for it. And he looked at her and grinned and he said, I told you you would be anticipating my every move. So he told me, he said, that daughter of yours is something else, because I had been his patient for a long time. And he's the one that found my blood clot. And just by coincidence, he was in the same hospital she worked in. And she did her training there when she was in college, because she had to have training for her RN license. And she did them there at the hospital. And they called her and asked her, where in the world am I? I hope that I'm in the picture. They called her and asked her if she would like, when she was getting ready to graduate, ask her if she would like to do her internship there at the hospital. And I can still remember she was in the den. She jumped about 2 feet off of the floor and she started hollering, and she said, yes, yes, because she was really good friends. She'd become good friends with the person over the nursing program. She said, I would love to do my training there. And she said, okay. She said, you've got the job. So she had her nursing job before she even graduated. And so she went to work and worked there for, I think it was about 12 years, something like that. And then we moved down here, and of course, she had to leave her friends and everything. She hated to do that because she had built up a really good friendship with several of the girls and everything. And that's where we went to Operaland, and they would go on tours and things, and just have a really good time. She decided that she wanted to leave the surgery and go into another department. So they had an opening in their call center, for which they hadn't been doing too well with it, because they weren't getting too many calls. And they were wondering why they weren't getting more calls. They put her to work there, and she worked there, I believe it was 6 weeks or 2 months, I forget which. And they had to hire extra help because she answered the calls. People had not been answering the calls that worked there. And they hired, I think it was 2 people. And because she's very vigilant, whatever she does, you don't have to stand there and watch to see if she's going to do it. She does it. And I mean, she does it well. Going to take, oh, I didn't tell you the number or the name. This is a beige, I know that. It's called beige. And the number, 997 is the number of this. And it's beige. And I'm going to fix the window facings with it. I was wondering when I started this what these window facings would look like with beige. And I just tried a little bit of it to see if I would like it. And I did. I really liked it. So then I went ahead and committed myself to all of them to sharpen that a little bit more. And so I was working on my channel, and I told her, I said, you ought to start a channel. One day she looked at me and she said, I put up a channel. And I said, you what? She said, yep, said I put a channel up. And I thought, oh my goodness, I would never have thought that. And I said, well, my goodness, let me look at it. And she had put that channel up, and she was making things that from her own mind, never had seen any of it before. And I couldn't believe what she was coming up with. She was coming up with things that were just unbelievable, and they didn't cost much at all to make. And she bought most of her supplies at the Dollar Tree because she didn't want to invest a lot of money in it. And but her channel took off right away because everyone liked her so well. And they loved the things that she was making because they were so cute and so easily made. And I couldn't believe it. It just floored me. And now she is still going at it. And she works, but she works really hard on her channel. I don't know if everyone works as hard as she does or not, but if they do, they really work because she works hard on hers. She works just like she studied, in other words. She doesn't do anything halfway. When she goes after it, she goes whole, all the way. And I said, why didn't you tell me you were doing that? She said, I didn't want you to know until it was all up. And I was getting some viewers. And so it thrilled me. I told her, I said, well, at least now I know that your crafting and all of that is not going to be just lost if anything ever happens to me. And she said, just because I wasn't saying anything didn't mean that I wasn't watching what you did. So she said that she would sit around and watch me do things, but she wouldn't say anything about it, and I didn't even know she was paying any attention to me at all. But she wanted to make sure of it herself before she showed it to me. And now I'm very proud of her. Very proud. And there are people, she's funny, she's peculiar, let's put it that way. She wants everything to just about, once in a great while, she'll use something that she has seen at a store or something, but 9 times out of 10, it comes straight out of her mind. And one thing I can tell you about that floored me, she and her husband are all the time going to Lowe's or 84 Lumber because of the supplies they had to buy for the house. And so she came home one day and she put a video up, and I said, when I saw the video, she told where she got her inspiration and where she got her supplies. Her inspiration was just out of her brain only. She didn't see it anywhere. But she said she was, and that's the way she does. She said, Mom, she said, I was just walking through 84 Lumber. And she said, I happened to see a rubber mat that you use in a truck laying there. And she said, I looked at that and she said, I thought, I could make a wall hanging out of that. I would never, ever in my life have thought about a wall hanging. She did. So she took that home and took coat hangers and folded them, bent them in the shape that she wanted them, and hung that up, and it made it look like big swirly S's. She's got it hanging in her dining room right now. And she made a wall hanging out of it. Now me, I would never have thought of that. Never, ever, ever. But that's the way her mind works. And she says when she goes to bed at night, she can hardly turn her brain off because it's still thinking, well, what could I do with this or what could I do with that? That's not my brain. My brain, I go to bed and I'm thinking, oh gosh, am I going to get these eyes taken care of and all this and that and something else? But she comes up with some of them. And stir sticks, that's one of her things. You all probably seen them many, many times. I would never have thought of using stir sticks to make things. She did. That's why I'm saying she has worked really hard, and it took a lot of imagination on her part to get that. And she doesn't, there are some people that she doesn't like to watch, not because she doesn't want to watch the person, but she's afraid that she will get something in her mind. She says she's like a sponge. And she doesn't want to see somebody do something and then her copy it because she's afraid that they will get think that she's just watching them to copy them. So she will deny herself watching someone that she would love to watch. But she will deny herself doing that because she doesn't want them to think that. And I keep telling her, I say, that's what it's for. People put things on there. You put things on there that people take your ideas and go with them. And she says, well, that's different. But see, it isn't. But to her, it is. I guess it's about like cheating on an exam or something in her mind. But she's had a lot of people who take her things and go with them, and they start their channels, and they will not be doing too well, and then they'll take her stuff and go with it, and they start really, really going. I do think, though, that when you do that, because I know I have seen things that I have watched people do. I've heard Davida talk about this, too. I think that if you do that, I do think that you should give the person the recognition of saying where you saw it, who came up with it, and everything. Just like I told her, I've solved a lot of my problems just through the years from age and everything, and I'll be doing something and I would need something And I would think, well, now what can I do about that? So I would come up with the idea. And if somebody sees that and takes it and does it, that's fine with me, but I would appreciate it if they'd say, well, I saw this on certain channel, and I wanted to use it because I know one time I was doing something when I was making my jewelry, and this lady wrote me and she said, I have been wanting to know how to do this one particular thing for years and years, and she said, I never could find out how to do it. And she said, I have looked everywhere. And she said, I don't know. I just couldn't find it. And she said, I turned your channel on, and she said, there it was. And she said, I'm so thankful that you showed that. Because she said a lot of people won't show things like that when they get something that is really good, you know. But that's what I felt that was there for, to help teach other people. And so she was very happy with that. And I was happy that she had been watching and did it. But Tanya will deny herself watching some of the people that she would love to watch because she doesn't want to them to think that she's just using their information to further her channel. But she is I call her a good kid. She's not exactly a kid, but she's good. Oh, and by the way, on my comments, if you all want to send me comments, that's fine. I can go through and read them, but it's when I start to answer them that I have to use a stylus because I can't. I do it on my keyboard, not my keyboard, my iPad. Okay, there's that. Now this was True Blue. It was 903. But when she's doing those DIYs, they are coming, unless she sees one at a store or something, they're coming straight out of her noggin. And she will tell you. True Green is the name of the name of that, and it was 910 is the number. And I will put the little green dots on my curtains. I heard a program, and I've been running it over and over through my mind. I think most of the day it's just sort of there in the back of my mind. If you're like me, if you hear a song, most of the time it's if you like a song that you hear. It keeps running over and over and over in your mind. And this one has been running over and over in my mind all day. And the song is, Jesus is alive and well. Jesus is alive and well. Something about tell everybody Jesus is alive and well. That has been just going over and over in my, even when I'm talking with you guys, that's what's going over and over in my mind. Sophie came over the other day. I was telling you all about that. And I don't know how you all feel about the gaithers. religious singing group, or gospel. Most people have heard of Gaithers. But Guy Penrod, when he was singing with them, there was one particular video of his that I dearly love. I mean, I love it. I could listen to it just about all day long. Because I used to do that. When Tanya and Melvin were staying with me, they would go down to work, and I would just put my computer on and just sit in there and watch him just play it over and over and over, watching him sing this one song. When Morning Comes is the name of it. And he's in a church. He's with the whole Gaither group. And they're in this big church, and it has glass-stained windows as you're looking at him, it's on the right, up against the side of the church. And he is singing that song, and oh my goodness, that is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, gorgeous. And I could listen to that thing all day long. I didn't give you the name of this pencil. I'm glad at least I'm remembering that. It is 10:30, and it is called Raspberry. Raspberry. I like this color for flowers, and it would probably be pretty on some brick. Now I can see better what I'm doing too, since I pushed that. But that's a lot better for you guys after half of a video is gone. Well, we can't all be Einstein's first time, can we? We have to sort of get our grounds, get our bearing. Okay, I gotta go back to my beige again for this door facings up here. Not door facings, window facings. I hope when I get through with this thing and I start to look at it, to see how things look, that it shows up that I have been filming what all I have done. Otherwise, you all may get just a chit-chat without a picture. That would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? I was telling Tanya, too, when we were talking earlier, I was telling her about how hard problem I was having seeing the letters and everything on the pencils. I told her I think I'm going to get a piece of tape and put on the back end, right back toward the back of the, I'm going to have to take a little bit of this off. I got a little bit thick. But I'm going to put a piece of some colored tape on there and put the number and the name on it, and that way I won't have problems seeing that. And that would take care of that out of there. I have to change my eraser pretty soon. Because that thing is that stuff, I should say, is sort of sticky like that the eraser leaves. I must say I really do like these cream awnings. I've never seen them cream before, but I do like them. Very much so. Glad I thought about that. Okay. Now what color? I think I used a, oh, well, I outlined those awnings. And I outlined them in 1082 chocolate. And it makes them stand out better. Now I've got to fix this roof on, and I don't know what color I used on this. Yellow orange. I wonder if I've gotten it out. I hope I do. Good. Thank the good Lord. I won't have to go hunting. All I have to do is just sharpen this a little bit. Light aqua is what I used. Is that what I have here in my hands? Light aqua, yes it is. And that is $9.92. It takes a little while to learn all this stuff. But I was speaking about my speaker. I found out so many things about that, but I found out just how much more there was to learn about speakers and woofers and tweeters, things that I had never heard of because I had not had to mess with them until my son became a teenager. And for his, I think it was his 13th birthday, he wanted a stereo, and he wanted the kind that is separate. The turntable was separate, and the receiver was separate, and the woofers were separate, and the subwoofers, whatever you call it, I'm about to forget. He had to have those, and he knew exactly what kind he wanted because he knew everything there was to know about that when Christmas came. He got the turntable and the receiver and the speakers. He got speakers that were, of course, they didn't have it like they do now. Back then they had tall speakers. Now they have the little ones. But back then the big ones are what everyone had. And his were, I think they were probably about, well, they were up about my hips, I say, near, right where, no, probably right where, if you had a bikini on, where it would start. And they were Kenwood, had to be Kenwood. So he got the Kenwood speakers and the tweeters and the woofers and all this receiver and all that stuff with his stereo. And that's when I learned all about all of these different things. Just seems to always have liked things that dealt with electricity and mechanical things like that. He just seemed inclined to go right to them. He took honor classes in high school and everything. And my clock, my grandfather clock that was in the flood that sits here in my house, it was chiming one chime too many, I believe it was. And I was going to have someone come to the house and fix it. And I had seen him looking around. He was 13. I had seen him looking at it when it would do that because our piano was in the living room and the clock was in the living room. And he loved that piano so much. It was a pecan wood Baldwin. I'm not sure. I know it was a good one. And he would go in there and his feet, when he was little, his feet would not even touch the floor. They needed probably about another foot when he would sit down on the piano stool. And he loved to sit at the piano and play it. And I didn't say a thing to him. I would let him sit there for hours, and he would just play and play and play on that piano. Because he wasn't doing anything to harm it. He was actually playing the piano. And they weren't the right keys, but that didn't bother me because for all I knew, he might actually hit the right keys a year later if I would leave him alone and let him explore. So he would do that all the time. He would go straight in there and sit down and start playing that piano. And so he got to where when he got in high school, he was already taking band classes and everything. He was in band. He was in percussion. And he loved that. My goodness sakes of mercy, he loved that. He started out on the bass drums, graduated from the bass to the snare, then went from the snare to the tries. And then I bought him a trap set. And I didn't even know what a trap set was, but he taught me. Started looking at my clock when it would when it would go off chime, one time too many. And I had to go to town one day, and I said, Tanya had to go with me. I said, Chris, he was 13. I said, Chris, do not touch my clock while I'm gone. And he just looked at me. And so I left comfortably, thinking that he would not bother my clock. Well, when I came home, I didn't think to look at anything or anything. And in a little bit, after I'd been home a few hours, I noticed the clock was striking. And it was striking the correct number of chimes. And he just sort of looked over at me when he realized that I had tuned into the chimes. I said, Chris, I said, did you mess with my clock while I was gone? He said, Mom, he said, I fixed it. I said, you fixed it? He said, yes. He said, it's working right. I went in and looked, and I listened again, and it chimed. It had the Westminster chimes, and it chimed every 15 minutes. and it chimed, and then on the half hour it chimed again, and then on the hour it struck, and it was striking the right number of chimes. And I just started laughing. I said, I told you not to mess with that clock. He said, Mommy, he said, I knew that I could fix that clock. I said, Chris, you're only 13 years old. He said, I can't help it. He said, I knew I could fix that. He said, I knew what was going on with it. And I said, well, evidently you did know, because you got it fixed. And I was happy I didn't have to pay somebody to come out and fix it for me. Works, and he can do anything that he wants to do. I don't care what it is. That kid, he taught himself algebra before he even went into algebra. And he just went on from there, and anywhere he works, if he changes jobs or something, they want him to be the boss. And everyone loves him. They think he's the finest person they've ever met. He never has problems on the job. He makes friends very, very easily. He still plays his trap set. Played in the junior high band, the 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. And he got off of the bass drum. He graduated from the bass drum onto the, I think he went to the snare from there. Yeah, went to the snare drum from there. And it was much lighter weight. And he had 2 sticks then. Well, he had 2 sticks with the bass, but they weren't as heavy, and that drum wasn't as heavy and everything. And he liked the snare better, but it took the bass to get him to the snare, so he was willing to put up with it. So in the meantime, he starts wrapping the sticks for the whole drum, the percussion section. He buys tape and wraps the sticks in the school's color and everything, and the band director was crazy about that because he knew that Chris dearly loved what he was doing. And he wouldn't pay any attention to it at all. He would wrap everyone's sticks for them. And the director knew that every time he came down there, those sticks were going to be wrapped and everything was going to be ready, because they competed all the time in festivals. And they did well in the festivals and everything, but he kept getting better and better and better. Then he began trying out for the different, like the All-County and things like that. His bedroom, he rearranged his bedroom, and how he got all that stuff in his bedroom, I'll never know. He had a 10-piece set of drums in his bedroom, and he had all kinds of room yet that he could walk around and do whatever he wanted to do. And he would stay in there and he would play those drums all the time. I mean, all the time. And it did not bother me one bit. I did not mind it. In fact, I love to listen to him play the drums. He is the type that it takes an awful lot before you would hear him open his mouth about anybody. I mean, it would take an awful lot. There's only one time that I can remember in my life that he would open his mouth about something that has happened. But that being said, Christopher does not talk about people. And he's a good kid. He's a good kid, yeah. He's the the father of my 15-year-old granddaughter that I dearly love. Blender, that's what it is. I better see if y'all, yeah, you can see my hand. Well, I think I got it pretty much like the other one. I think that if any of you decide to make this, I think you'll really like it because I love this one. That's why I really didn't care to do it over again. The better way to turn it so you can get a full view of it all. Hope that you like it, and I hope that if you decide to get you some pencils and a crayons and book, whatever, pens, and start joining in, that you will like it. And I really think you would love it. I do. Because it's so gratifying when you see that. When you've done that, it gives you a sense of accomplishment and you feel good about it. So I hope that you, like I said, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you will come back again, and be sure and let me know how you feel about the session and the length, and whether you want me to cut it in two or just let it go or what. And the majority will rule. So I'll talk with you guys later, and don't forget, I love you, and so does God. He loves you much, much more. Okay, talk with you later. Bye-bye.